back to Blackwatch Intel. My name is Crashy, and today with me I have a special guest. It's Jonal. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very well. So we have an American holiday coming up, so I'll probably be posting this after that pretty soon, but super excited to have you on the channel. I just wanted to say I found your videos and your channel by, probably the same way a lot of people did. I'm a Genji main. I love Genji, and I just started watching your videos, and you had a lot of informative stuff. The one that sticks out for me was the video where you basically played your full VOD and you broke down a lot of your decision makings, and there was a lot of things I learned from that one. So that was a super informative, super fun video. And to kind of just jump into this interview, I guess the first thing I'll ask you is kind of what got you into Overwatch, and then to follow up on that, like what specifically got you into competitive gaming and wanting to, kind of be the best, I guess.
That's actually, what can I say? That's a really funny story. I didn't want to play Overwatch when I bought the game. My best friend Kijelio, which also used to play for my team, he actually forced me to buy. He didn't have money at the time. He was broke, right? So he didn't have any money for games. So he actually kind of, not literally, but almost forced me or nagged me into purchasing 2 copies of the game. Or well, he made me purchase 1 copy for him. He was gonna pay me back later, and then he kind of was like, while you're at it and you have the card up, you can buy 2 copies, it's just for fun. And then I was like, sure. And I played, of course, the open beta. I was a Battlefield guy, actually. And I just played the game, and I have this thing that I love, like, improving. I love being good at stuff. That's kind of my drive. That was one of the reasons I went into the competitive scene. Because I watched, I played the game in Season 1. It was fun. I then started in Season 2, and I was like, okay, I see now there's so much. I started watching the pro scene, the very early pro scene, with Dennis and the rest of the guys. And I was like, oh, this game, there's so much depth in this game. I so want to learn it. I so want to play it. I so want to try out how it is to play on the team and like have strategies and proper team comps, which I never felt I could achieve in a competitive match because it's randoms. I cannot make randoms listen or do what I want or execute tactics that I want to try out. And therefore I was like, you know what? I have my friends, and there's so many Facebook groups and stuff like that. I was a total scrub. I didn't know any team upside or discords or anything. So I was just like, I'll just make a team and I'll just try it out. And I just started loving it more and more, and playing the game competitively just opened so many possibilities, and you had to improve, you had to learn so much. You always had to be adapting and watching the meta, and it was just so much to learn. And when you won scrims or matches or tournaments later on, like the rush was just there, and it was just very, very addicting.
That's actually really cool. That's probably the most consistent and like best way to start to become a competitor, because you started at a place where a lot of people would try to, what I guess I would say is like skip that stage. You pretty much found the people yourself. You started putting it together, and then you and your team went through all the learning process of figuring out stuff that you probably didn't even know about the game until you got into your first scrim or your second scrim or your 20th scrim. Yeah. So that's actually just really cool. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's things about the game that you don't even think of until someone says it themselves, or until you're just randomly exposed to it. So I kind of want to jump back to something you said. You said you came from Battlefield. How did you? I have to ask this question because it's probably not something you get asked a lot. How did you make the jump from Battlefield not only to Overwatch, but specifically to Overwatch on a character like Genji?
It was rough, man. It was rough. Like I had done very similar things. I played Rainbow Six Siege, like the rank mode with like 4 or 5 friends. Like randomly met in the lobby, added people from a friends clan called Jet. And that, of course, learned me, a lot about using my headset and stuff like that, which you don't get that much. I'll get some Battlefield fanboys hating on me now, but you don't really get that in Battlefield, right? So, of course, that kind of matured me up to using my headset more. But, like, for example, in the beginning, when I played in I think it was the open beta, since I played a lot of Sniper in Battlefield 4, of course, I was instantly drawn to Widowmaker, right? High mobility, so I could get to high grounds without running or stealing a plane. an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. I was like, this is broken, right? I was thinking, the Ace 23, one of the best assault rifles in the game, plus the SR61, which was another good sniper in the game. And I was like thinking that combo, and I was like, this must be broken. Of course, that's not what Widowmaker is. And I played around on most of the characters, and it was like, I like this and I like that, but there's no really that really gives me the rush, the freedom to move as I want to in a game like this, where I felt that I a lot of time had to run so many stairs if I wanted to get anywhere. And then I saw Seagull, the big streamer Seagull, play Genji, and I was like, oh man, dude, this character looks good. And I just slowly but surely transitioned over to Genji, and learned his movement. And of course, it was a very rough skill curve. Genji has so much to learn from. But yeah, it was essentially just more the fact that I wanted more freedom in the game. When I played, I felt very locked on a McCree because I couldn't move. I just felt like I just got randomly killed without having a chance to actually move out of the way. And Genji kind of gave me that. I could move any direction I wanted at any time. And his Dragon Blade was a katana, which is cool. So that kind of also incentivized me to pick the guy.
It's pretty ridiculous that you've painted a very unsuspecting parallel to kind of my experience getting into Overwatch. And I'll paint just a very quick picture of kind of like what my backstory of gaming is. I came from Gears of War. It's an Xbox 360 title, and it's a third-person shooter, and the way that game works, the sniping on that game is one of the most rewarding kills to get if you land a headshot. And that kind of transitioned my love of snipers, which led me to like games like Call of Duty and Battlefield myself. And then the first hero I started super getting into in like Season 1 and Season 2 was Widowmaker. And I was like scrimming on teams with Widowmaker. I played a lot of McCree at the time because he was really strong, and you kind of had the death ball meta like really early on. And then it's like the same thing happened. I start watching streams for this game. I'd never heard of Seagull, never heard of anybody really streaming. And I start watching Seagull back when he was still branded with Luminosity. And I'm like, whoa, this character just does so much. And the one defining kind of like trait or thing that really draws me into Genji are the situations where, your back's against the wall, you have nothing up, you have no abilities, no cooldowns, and the one thing you get to do is just climb up a wall as high as you can just to try to avoid, some of the damage that's going to be coming your way. And for some reason, that one thing, just being able to climb up the wall and being super evasive, makes him feel like he has so much utility and so much depth to the character. Someone's chasing you through a doorway, you climb up the wall and you're above them, and they totally miss you. They have no idea where you are. So like things like that about the character, for me, is like just definitely what drives him, to like you said, to give you that rush and that thrill, because he's so much more dynamic than playing someone like McCree, where you just kind of walk forward and really rely on your mechanical aim to get a lot of value out of. So I wanted to say that's a crazy parallel, because that's super like the exact same reason why I started getting into the character myself.
And I also think it has a lot with the fact that with Genji, you're like it's always like there's certain gamers that just are really drawn to high skill. Like they don't really care how bad the character are, or like how much like it what can I say, it takes of you to play him. Just you knowing that you're playing at a higher rank or playing really good, playing in tournaments, something, and you play the hero with the most skill or the highest skill cap, like the challenge itself and the kills, defeating someone you shouldn't, like killing a Winston as Genji, which shouldn't happen, but when you pull it off, it's like, I'm a god. I love this game.
It's the same thing like when you're fighting like a Fair Mercy and you get the air kills with Dragon Blade. It's just like, oh, like I just did the most rewarding thing, and some people probably have no idea what that just did for me myself, just sitting here playing the game, but it was so rewarding. Exactly. So I can definitely resonate with that. All right, so I guess to jump into one of my points here on my notes, I wanted to ask, I'm gonna kind of compound this into two questions. What are your current thoughts on like the state of the game, and more specifically with Moira about to join the competitive scene tomorrow? What are you thinking about Moira? What are you thinking about the game as a whole?
I can't. When I saw Moira, when I first saw that she was doing like healing and DPS with her ult, the first thing I was remembering was I can't wait until see all the Reddit posts about people yelling that their Moira is DPSing instead of healing with her ultimate. That's like the first thing I was thinking. I think Moira is a great contributor to the roster, and I actually think that all supports for once, finally in Overwatch, is viable support picks. There's always been times where there has kind of been the support heroes that you needed to have, right? There was this Zenyatta meta, where it's like if you didn't run the Zenyatta, you were just screwed because you needed the 50% Discord orbs, which was like broken. Then there was the Ana meta and the Death Ball with nades, biotic nades being ridiculous, and speed boost with nano boost, and like all of that stuff. Then it was the Mercy meta, which everyone hated. And now even Moira herself, I know a lot of people are complaining about her, thinking that she's too overpowered, and I haven't seen her competitive match. That's why I don't want to, and I haven't swimmed, of course, in the span of my team with her. And that's why I don't want to talk too much about her, about like how good she actually is before I've actually played her myself in competitive. But I believe that she's on the strong side on her healing, but she's also really, I would say she's balanced. And there was I don't know if they came through with the PTR yet, where her hitbox with her grasp or DPS output has been nerfed a little bit. I don't think that was too bad. It just requires more skill of her. But I think that she's actually pretty balanced. I like that every support hero is balanced, and you can really run any combination of them. As long as you don't try to solo heal with your Lucio, it's normally, I think that the balance of the game is really good right now. With of course a couple of exceptions, so stuff that should kind of maybe take a look at that Blizzard and tweak that up or down a little bit. For example, Doomfist is not used as much as I would like to see. Even though he's strong, he just feels like he needs something extra, because right now he's not used as much as I would like to see him.
Yeah, I actually saw a Reddit post today that I probably need to do a little bit of reading on, where a person or the Reddit user basically claims that there's 18 unique bugs with Doomfist across all 4 of his abilities, which that's a pretty heavy-handed number. So, and they provided examples allegedly, so I probably need to go look into that and just see kind of what's going on with Doomfist. But as for Moira, and just to talk about supports in general, Moira seems pretty strong, but she also seems like she has a pretty high ceiling. So it seems like you have to find that perfect balance of being able to do damage to keep your health, your healing meter high, and being in the right position to heal, and being at the right range to heal. And so she just has this like a really interesting kind of relationship between damaging and healing, where it's a lot of give and take, and the Fade ability is going to be key to keeping yourself alive and keeping you right where you need to be, as well as earning a lot of value out of using your ultimate, not only for healing and not only for damage, but actually being able to kind of swing the momentum of a fight by doing both. So she seems super, super cool for that reason.
And I can't wait to see all the small like micromanagement of how to use her orbs, like her healing and DPS up. That's what I'm actually very interested in, which I don't see a lot of people talk about. Where it's like, if you are stuck in a close-up situation, should you drop a healing orb or a DPS orb? How viable is the DPS orb? I personally think Viper will be very viable with a dive comp compared to Deathball, an offensive hero. That's of course just a plain statement with no testing behind it. Mm-hmm. But like, then it's like, okay, when they dive, do you drop your DPS orb or a healing orb? What healers does she synchronize well with? Would you run Moira in a really heavy offensive comp with like only a Lucio as a secondary? And then just a full dive, a heavy dive, and then just kind of rush, and she tosses in her healing or her DPS. And like the orb meta, just the meta with her orbs in itself, I can feel that's such a huge thing, and that just one of her abilities kind of takes so much attention in itself. I think that she's gonna be amazing. But yeah, as I agree that she will take a high skill ceiling because of, you also need to be really close to heal your allies at the same time. So it's like you really need to be able to understand how engagement distance and map positioning works in the game to play her. So I can see that a lot of lower ranked, like very low ranked players are gonna hate Moira because of that, and a lot of higher ranked players are probably gonna have a lot of fun experimenting at least with her.
Yeah, I know from my kind of PTR experiments and just some quick play already, the one thing that I was myself running into was, I'm not a super high rated player. I was just like tunnel visioning so hard on trying to finish off whatever target I'm on, and I would have this full healing meter, and then I'd look over and I would let someone die, and I would just kind of like hit myself in the head thinking like, oh, I could have, if I would have been better at managing, you know, my resources overall between doing damage and healing, we could have totally won that fight. So I have to work on that. As for the kind of thought about what kind of comps she's going to fit in, the way I'm viewing her currently, again, no testing, no pro pugs or anything like that to kind of give myself this info, I find her to sit right in the middle between being a really strong kind of like main healer and being an aggressive healer. So as where you would see someone like Zen or Lucio on one side of the spectrum for healing, and then say Mercy on the total opposite side of healing, I find her to sit right in the middle, where I think a combo of like Mercy Moira would do really well with Death Ball, or a combo like Lucio Moira would do really well with Dive, like you were saying. So she's gonna be pretty versatile, at least in my opinion so far.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so to kind of start wrapping things up and get us to the last talking point, what do you personally think could improve Overwatch? And what kind of things, whether it be Overwatch Esports, Overwatch League, Contenders, you know, new season of Contenders info that should be coming out soon, TM, Blizzard, please. You know, what are you most looking forward to with Overwatch?
I'm looking forward, man, to the Overwatch League. I can't lie. I'm looking very forward to seeing, you know, Dallas Fuel, hashtag proud Dallas Fuel fan, go toe-to-toe against someone like Shark. That's gonna be amazing, and I can't wait for the Overwatch League. Is gonna be probably some of the most fun I'm gonna have. Normally, I think that Apex is one of the best like events ever to see. You know, Lunatic High play around and stuff like that. But Overwatch League is some of my favorite. I'm looking really forward to seeing a lot of matches from them.
Yeah,
and of course, cool skins.
Yeah, I think the schedule alone is turning out to be pretty interesting, just because the volume of games seems like it's going to be very high. There's going to be a lot going on, and I'm specifically super excited. So if you don't know this already, which I don't expect you would, I'm from Houston, Texas, so I have to root for Houston Outlaws, and I'm super excited to also root for the Dallas Fuel because they're also a Texas team. And on my birthday, December 7th, will be their first match against each other. So I'm super excited to watch like my two home state teams duel it out in the preseason on my birthday. I just think that's like the most random cool thing that's going to come out of the very beginning stages of the Overwatch League. And I think overall, just seeing this level of, you know, esports competition, it's the, you know, the first franchising league, it's being solidified, the brands are already out, they're starting to grow on people, the names are there, the rosters are coming out, the team content promoting and all the marketing and everything that's going around with it is just super cool, and it's never been done before. You know, I've been following esports and competitive gaming since I was 13 in 2007. I went to my first MLG event, and what I'm seeing happen on a day-to-day basis every single weekend with tournaments and all these big leagues, I never would have thought any of this would happen. And it's just really cool to see how, you know, players like, you know, Sinatra, who have, you know, this $150,000 contract, and Flower, who, you know, can't even play in this season of Overwatch League yet, is going to be a rising star, you know, in Overwatch for esports. You know, that's just insane.
Yeah. When it comes to the state of the game, I think the state of the game is really good. As I said, I think all supports are viable. I think all tanks are viable and balanced, at least to a certain extent. I still want them to tweak Zenyatta a little bit, because I think that he is a little bit on the strong side. One of my team members used to call him Broken Yada when we used to play together. And the only place, of course, is the mess that's called the DPS roster. It's just chaos there. And of course, like, that's only like that's a place where I think that like there needs to be a lot of fine tuning. But that's also a little bit to do with the fact that that's a huge like percentage of just like that's both the offensive and defensive heroes are categorized as DPSs. So like that in itself is like so many heroes to balance out. And most of them, I think, is balanced. I know a lot of people are yelling to try to buff or nerf Genji. I think Genji's in a prime spot. Personally, it's like Junkrat for me. Like, I play a lot of Junkrat, and especially on stream. and it's like on my side of the screen, like the shit you can pull off with him, it's kind of like he might be a little bit too strong. But then I'm also like, please don't nerf my Junkrat. Like, that's the reason I climb in ranks, so don't touch it, please. But I think the state of the game is really, really good right now. And, with the stuff they do to the custom game and stuff like that, I still believe they really need to fix a lot of the community stuff. Like getting their ban system on track, warning system, stuff like that. So... Because right now, no one is scared of the report system. Like in League of Legends, as I understand from... I never really played League. My friends did. The report system there is very harsh. And of course, you don't want a system where you play Hanzo. We're just gonna report you and you'll get banned. But like stuff like abusive chat and stuff like that, just BMing in general, or being, being mean to each other, being toxic. I think Blizzard, of course it's the streamers and... the YouTuber's job to kind of talk up against it. We are kind of supposed to at least go forward with at least some kind of example. The pro scene, the Overwatch League, needs to go forward with a good example of showing good team spirit and stuff like that. But I also believe Blizzard really needs to start taking a good stand and implementing a proper, some kind of system, either if it's a reward system for not being toxic, where you kind of can promote people so they can get a skin or a tag or something like that, like something to try to help us clean out some of the toxicity of what's going on in competitive games right now, because it's really bad at times.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There are a lot of like in-game systems and community systems and things that are, I'm hoping, in development in terms of like getting the community more involved, and even just on the kind of like the competitive ladder side of things, I don't really love how the game feels like you're forced to, stack with 3 or less people rather than them promoting and giving you incentives to play in 6 stacks. Like, I would love a scenario where there are 2 separate queues, one for, solo to try queue and the other for team queue, because then you would actually see community members going out of their way to queue up and stack up, and I think that would just change the way that people perceive Overwatch as a team game, and it would definitely change the way that people play it, because I know myself, I've gone on different forums and Discords just to join 6 stacks to see how it plays, and the experience is so much different when you know that you're in voice comms and you're in a team where everybody truly wants to win, unconditional to, their one-trick hero, or unconditional to, having any kind of animosity toward an individual or individuals on an individual team. They just want to go in there, they want to play as a team, and they want to win in kind of like the most competitive types of ways. So I'm hoping that we see more community involvement in terms of development from Blizzard, and see kind of where they take that.
I can agree on that, because right now it's not impossible to queue. Like when I had my team, then again, that's a team that plays in tournaments together. We can queue. But the SR difference, especially in lower ranks, as I understand, is fine. Like in silver, you can 6 stack and who cares. But especially in like if you're in master or above and you try to stack more than 2, it normally just becomes a shit show, because you get placed. They take the calculation of you are a 3 stack, 4 stack, 5 stack, 6 stack. You can theoretically play like a pro team because you are on comms. We'll just increase your SR or MMR by 1 billion because, screw you. Like, to try to balance the matches. And I find, like, that really incentivizes, like, do not stack. Like, if you stack 4 people in Master or Grandmaster rank, you'll get yelled at by your team members. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you queuing 4 or 5 people? What are you doing? Like, don't queue as a 6 stack or queue as a 2 stack or solo queue. That's the only thing that's really acceptable a lot of times. Or else you're gonna get flamed for, you're ruining my games because I'm just here. Like, you queue like 4 Grandmasters, you'll get 2 Master players, and the enemy team will have a couple of top 500s sometimes. And it's like, it's just unbalanced because the 2 Master people will not be able to do anything when, the enemy team is just ruffle stomping. And I kind of agree that like a queue system would be justified, or some kind of at least a system. So if you do at the team up button in the lobbies when you want a game with a couple of randoms and you kind of like them, click the team up button, it does not count as or you need to play a certain amount of games with them before it's counting as your real team. Because it really does that when I meet funny people or people that, hey, he was pretty cool, I never click on the join team button because I know when we queue, we'll get placed against some stupid hard odds. And it's just easier to solo queue for me, even though we played really well and it was really fun playing there. And that kind of ruins the experience at times of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a game like Overwatch where, again, this is, I've played a couple of games where I would say it's like this. This is a very team reliant game. I come from the competitive Gears of War scene and Gears of War esports, and that game, while it's very team oriented, there are so many huge moments made by an individual going off and getting 1 to 5 kills on their own. That does not happen in Overwatch. Not rare, not often anyways.
And also the comms are like, that's the biggest thing. I talked with one of my players for the team. He played not on a very high level, but he played on a Counter-Strike team before he came. He was shot caller or whatever it's called, the captain or something, they planned or something. I don't know anything about Counter-Strike meta. And he said, like, the amount of comms we need in Overwatch, and this is the reason it was so hard to build teams. Because, like, you needed people that knew the game, had good game understanding, game sense, and could communicate very fast, very precise, small bits of information and react correctly and, like, filter our bad information and only react good information. And because you needed to stay together, you needed to dive the correct targets in the correct sequence, from the correct angles, use correct ult management and stuff. There was so much. And then in Counter-Strike, as he explained it, it's a lot about, you have the, like, yeah, sure, it's smart, cold stuff, but in theoretically, the guy with the AWP can just ace. Or a guy with an AK can just ace, or a pistol. Because you can't really do that. Genji can't really ace a tanks. Like, there are 3 tanks, you can't ace that. Unless, like, the skill level is out of whack, and then it doesn't count as a proper game, right? And so yeah, that was a big problem, and that's also why the competitive, like the rank game modes and the competitive scene are so different, because while comms are good, it's not always needed in the lower ranks. But yeah, they should really, they need to do something to incentivize people to play better or communicate or do something. Not be toxic, at least not be toxic. And of course, we as a community are responsible for it. I'm responsible for it. I try to talk a lot about it in my videos, why it's really bad being toxic, why you are losing or throwing your own games by being toxic yourself. And although a lot of other YouTubers do that, other streamers try to promote that, but you have always the examples of people that don't really, like, I know there are YouTubers there with like way many more subscribers than me that have based their channel on exactly just being toxic and flaming and talking shit about their team members and talking shit about their matches, and that really presents a really bad, like, people would then get more frustrated and take that with them into the games, and it ruins people's experience. It's not just that you're losing games or winning games, but you're also ruining other people's experiences of the game, and then they get mad and then they bring that onto the community. So it's like this sickness just spreads to everyone that just get involved with it, which is really, really bad. And Blizzard needs to take more than just Jeff Kaplan in a video to convince the community to be nicer to each other.
Yeah, feels bad, man. That video, if only it actually came with some ramifications to follow, but we'll see what they have coming, and hopefully the community can not only find its way to being, more together and wanting to win more, but actually being, forced to based on development or, harsher punishments or whatever they decide to do. The number of games that I've lost because we had a bad attack or a bad defense, and then someone on your team has already chosen in their mind that the game is over and won't even put forth their best effort on the second half of the game is crazy. So Jonal, thanks for coming out, man. We really appreciate you coming to the channel. Where can we find you? Because I know you have an amazing YouTube channel. All of your links will be in the description, and I know you stream as well. So where can we find you?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, as you said, Jonal Gaming. I also Twitch stream at Jonal_OW, and I think that's the same. My Twitter tag is the same. I also do private coaching, of course, which then is contact by email, which you find on my YouTube channel if anyone it's interesting, that'll tweet at me or something like that. That's and then there's a Discord link in the description of my. Normally, you find all my social media links on my YouTube descriptions, so it's really there. You find me and talk to me on my Twitch stream, stuff like that. I love helping out people. So,
all right, thanks again for joining us on the channel.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Alrighty, everyone. We'll see y'all on the next video.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earth?